Good morning, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The time is now 7:27, and welcome to Activated Mornings this morning. You're listening to yours truly, Ari, and with me in studio this morning is Christal. Good morning, Christal.
Good morning, Eric. Good morning to the listeners again. The number to call is 457-9997. Number to WhatsApp is also 457-9997. It is Friday, the 5th day of January 2023, and there are many dates that have been etched into the minds of Vincentians as tragic reminders. January 4th will be one of them. Let us first say on behalf of the entire station that we send condolences to the families of the deceased individuals who perished in yesterday's plane crash. So yesterday, around the midday, a plane took off from JF Mitchell Airport in Bequia, and according to Kenton's live on IWN, he was live yesterday afternoon because he went to Bequia. He stated that persons were hearing a bit of sputtering from the aircraft more than once. And shortly after that, they saw the plane plummet into the ocean. Unfortunately, all persons perished. A father, two children, two girls, and the pilot, who was a resident of Bequia and who also had a diving business in Bequia. It is also said that among the people who retrieved or who attempted or who assisted, were folks that he taught to dive. Uh, During Kenton's life, he also said that when he spoke to persons, there were people like divers who saw and heard what was happening, and they put themselves on guard in the event of a worst case scenario. I think that the quick response of people on Bequia was highly commendable. And kudos to those who went diving to assist, and the fishermen that went out as well. And those people that called the Coast Guard initiated the quick response. Kudos to those individuals. And if you want to jump in with anything at this point here.
Well, I saw the video as everyone else saw it as it was going around, and I think the saddest part of this story to me, without going into the actual facts of what had happened, was there was a video with what appears to be the mother or the wife of the family swimming to their bodies. And that's something I would never wish for anybody to experience. God knows what might have been going through her head, and God knows what it was like seeing that happen. The Lord alone knows how it feels thinking that your family is going to be right back, and at the blink of an eye, life happens.
It does. What we're also gathering was they stayed in Bequia, they were on vacation, and they were heading to St. Lucia to go back home. And it's very sad that their bodies will be returned home, but they will not go back home.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that made me, I don't know, a lot of people, I don't know what the people feel. I know it's like a lot of sadness, but it's I think what made it worse was seeing the video of the actual impact in the water. We'll get to that video and the audio that accompanied that video after. But let me say good morning to everybody on the live. And Edford, good morning, Joshua. Anne says it's a very sad experience. Condolences to the family. So luckily, and It's bittersweet to say, luckily, but they were able to retrieve all the bodies. That would help with closure. Sometimes when planes crash, you don't retrieve anything at all. No debris, no nothing. We have had 3 plane crashes to my memory. A Liat flight years ago, that one of our Carnival Queens was on board. An aircraft that had, I think, Ibrahim on it, and another one with Lakram. And to date, we have never been able to find anything at all, to my knowledge. So to be able to at least retrieve the bodies of loved ones and to be able to have a burial, it's a bittersweet moment. Joshua says words cannot express the pain, and definitely that is the case.
Yes, I have some facts here from Carlos Williams, Deputy Director of Grenadines Affairs, and it had said the plane departed from JF Mitchell around 12:08 and went down around 12:09 or 12:10. 4 persons on board included a father and 2 young daughters, and the plane was piloted by Robert Bob Satch, or Satches.
Let's go with Sack.
Yeah, Sack off Dive Beckway. Divers and boats responding within 5 to 10 minutes of the crash. The Coast Guard was on the scene by 12:28 and joined the search and rescue. Unfortunately, the last report update received was that all persons on board would have perished. The identity of the passengers, their origin, or the destination of the flight. Christian Klepser is a 51-year-old German living in the USA. His 2 daughters, Annie Klepser, 13 years old, and Madita Klepser, 11 years old, from Carolina, USA. Condolences to the Klepser family. I don't even think I have the words that could comfort somebody who had went through something like that. The only bittersweet, as you said, positive thing that I drew from this was the immediate response and the sense of community by not just persons in Bequia, but neighboring islands and even mainland persons with boats left the mainland to go down and see how they can assist. And that in itself is something beautiful, and it says a lot about the community here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, or the feeling of togetherness here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So once again, condolences to that family.
I hope that at some point we are able to figure out what happened to the plane. I know obviously they will have investigations to be done, but we gotta stick a pin here, and we gotta go to traffic talk at 7:35, and we come back at 7:45 to continue. I think we'll pause the live and just continue it. All right, so we'll be back.
So please bear with us as we have our traffic talk, and we'll be back to unpack more about this plane crash that happened yesterday.
WEFM, the clean, fresh sound.
This is WEFM'S Traffic Talk, Monday to Friday, 7:35 a.m. in association with the traffic branch of the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force.
The time is now 7:36 here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and it's time for your traffic talk. This morning we have joining us Station Sergeant Jones. So this morning, Station Sergeant Jones will be bringing the traffic talk for you.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Station Sergeant Jones. How are you this morning?
Good. Good morning to you, and happy New Year to you and the staff and management of WEFM, and also to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and to those listening in the diaspora this morning. This morning I'm standing along this street in Kingston. I'm standing in the vicinity of the Senator and the traffic in and around Kingston. At this moment, there's a light to moderate flow of traffic around Kingston. My updating respect of the traffic along the Arnisville Public Road heading into and out of Kingston, and also the traffic that is traveling along the VG Highway that's out of the Mesopotamia Valley and the Gilead Gumi area. That traffic is moderate, as well as the traffic along the Nelson Mandela Highway. That traffic is also moderate at this time. We expect to see a bumper-to-bumper flow of traffic in and around Kingston later on during the course of the morning and also for the duration of the day, and also in and around those surrounding areas that was mentioned before. Over the last 24-hour period, we only had one reported motor vehicle collision that's in the Kingston district. We had no report of any collision on the old district of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but in that collision, no one sustained any personal injuries and vehicles will receive slight damage in that collision. My tip for this morning, we continue to see the prevalence of persons using demonstration plate on their motor vehicle after registering that motor vehicle. I want to remind the general public that once that motor vehicle has been registered, that vehicle is given a number and you can no longer use a demonstration plate on that motor vehicle to drive that motor vehicle on the streets of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So I'm just going to walk the person through the steps after they register that motor vehicle. That motor vehicle should be insured by an insurance company. That insurance certificate should be brought to the traffic department where the officer will examine that insurance and they will give permission, a written permission on that insurance certificate to have that motor vehicle move from point A to point B, to have that motor vehicle inspected. Once that motor vehicle has been inspected, those documentations will be taken back to the licensing department where that motor vehicle would be licensed. So one person to desist from this practice, they can be prosecuted for having a fraudulent identification mark on that motor vehicle and also for using a motor vehicle without the insurance and the relevant license of such. Also, we see persons riding motorcycles without the class E, but also remind persons that once you're gonna ride a motorcycle on the road, you have to ensure that you have the class E. Under the classifications of the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act, specify that class E authorizes you to operate a motorcycle. So it's just for you to go to the income tax department and purchase that exam receipt for that class E to have it added to your driver's license. Because once you're being caught, you can be prosecuted for driving without being the whole of a driving permit to drive that class of vehicle. And that vehicle also becomes uninsured once you operate it without that class. So we just want to remind persons as to some things that they should do because we continue to see these offences being repeated by persons who are importing motor vehicles and operators of motorcycles as well. I want to wish everybody an accident and incident-free weekend and all the best for this season.
All right, Station Sergeant Jones, thanks for joining us.
All the best to you, sir.
And that has been your traffic talk, for Friday, January 5th, 2024.
Boy, that's where you getting crashing on. Your brakes real good, boy.
Now brakes alone good enough. My tires good too.
Tires? Where you get them tires, boy?
Out by Caribbean Tire Plus, man. They out in Arnisville. Can't miss it. Look for the orange container on them. Plenty parking space and open 7 days a week all thing, man. Monday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And on Sundays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Call them today. Caribbean Tire Plus, 784-432-4786 or email ctiresplus@gmail.com.
Sparrows, rum of pure sophistication. Sparrows, rum, aged to perfection. Skillfully crafted and forged with time in oak barrels. A rum so divine. Discover authentic Caribbean rum. Sparrows, premium rum. Sparrows, full-bodied rum. Sparrows, pure sophistication. Discover authentic Vincentian rum. Sparrows, premium rum.
Distilled and blended by St. Vincent Distillers Limited. Please drink responsibly.
Agents, Careers, Distribution Limited. It's everything you'll ever want from everywhere, real easy. Shop on the net, use eZone, internet delivery. Get your online shopping delivered right to your door. A revolution, your evolution, go shop the world. eZone, eZone, from everywhere, real easy. eZone, eZone, go shop fast, easy, affordable. Shop on the net and get it here through the eZone.
eZone St. Vincent, local agent to BMC agencies.
Shop at Lanes where you come first. For value and quality you can trust. Lanes. For home hardware, fashion and more. The best prices at every store. A warm Vinci welcome is waiting for you. At Lanes, your family store for value.
WEFM, the new fresh sound.
Rise and shine. Let's get ready to take on the day. Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
Welcome back to Activated Mornings this morning. We're talking about the plane crash that happened just yesterday off Bequia and Pity Nevis. I'm reading a news release here from the RS.
BGPF.
Yeah, I'm wondering. But yeah, it's on ANN and it's from the police force. And it says us one small engine aircraft, registration number N4023B, owned and piloted by Mr. Roberts. What was his pronunciation? Sach?
Let's go with Sack.
Sack of Bequia crashed into the sea.
Sachs.
1 nautical Sachs. That makes sense. Robert Sachs.
Yeah.
1 nautical mile west of Pity Nevis, sometime after midday earlier yesterday. There were 3 passengers on board, namely Mr. Christian Klepser, 51 years old, from the United States of America, and his 2 daughters, Madita Klepser and Anik Klepser, 10 and 12 years old, respectively. The aircraft went airborne from JF Mitchell Airport in Paget Farm about 12:11 p.m. for St. Lucia as its final destination. Moments after taking off, the aircraft experienced difficulties and plummeted into the ocean. Fishermen and divers from Paget Farm went to the scene of the incident in their boats to render assistance. The SVG Coast Guard was informed and quickly traveled to Paget Farm Bequia to lead in the rescue efforts. The 4 bodies of the aforementioned persons were recovered from the aircraft or sea by Coast Guard personnel and were later pronounced deceased by medical practitioners. The bodies were transported to St. Vincent on board the Coast Guard vessel and were taken to the Kingston mortuary, where post-mortem examinations are expected to be carried out, or would have been carried out, to ascertain the cause of death. The police force expresses condolences to all who are negatively affected by this tragic incident and will update the public as more information is gathered.
Sorry.
Investigation into the matter continues. So I remember reading this story and getting the updates as to the time of the Coast Guard's arrival. And I even saw a video that showed them in Bequia Harbor, and they seem to have been taking a while to get where they needed to go. So I was very intrigued when I saw this story on Eyewitness News, where fishermen criticized the Coast Guard response after the plane wreckage. So, reading from IWN, a Bequia fisherman who helped to locate the wreckage of the aircraft that crashed off the island on Thursday, killing all 4 people on board, has criticized the response of the Coast Guard. The fisherman, who asked not to be named, told Eyewitness News that he and his colleagues were at the fisheries complex in Paget Farm on the south side of Bequia when the single-engine airplane crashed off Pity Nevis nearby Key. He said that when they arrived in the area where the plane had plunged into the sea shortly after, it had already sunk into the seabed. However, the fishermen were able to locate the wreckage in some 60 to 80 feet of water and realized that the 4 passengers were still trapped inside, presumed dead. The fisherman said that when they informed the Coast Guard, interceptor that had been that had by then arrived at the scene. They were told that the Coast Guard had to await the arrival of its divers to retrieve the bodies. I'm quoting him. We explained to them that the tide was now starting to run, so if you left the wreckage there, it was a possibility that we wouldn't find the plane again and that it would drift off. He said that the tide was going in a northwesterly direction and would have carried the wreckage out into the open water. The local fishermen then took the decision to retrieve the bodies from the wreckage and hand them over to the Coast Guard. A rope and buoy were then fastened to the wreckage to mark its location. Meanwhile, on Thursday afternoon, a military officer with experience in maritime matters expressed concern to Eyewitness News that the Coast Guard apparently had not stationed personnel in the area permanently until the wreckage was retrieved as part of the investigation. When Eyewitness News arrived in Bequia around 2 p.m. aboard one of the inter-island ferries, 2 Coast Guard interceptors with the bodies of the crash victims on board were in Port Elizabeth latched together with Coast Guard and civilians, presumably medical personnel, on board. Later Thursday afternoon, a similar interceptor was seen just offshore Paget Farm but left the area sometime later. And so he went on to describe what happened in the crash, the stuff that we already spoke about earlier. But what are your thoughts on this?
I'm not a Coast Guard officer, but to my memory, the Coast Guard would have to initiate certain responses before they're able to move off base. I cannot speak to what transpired yesterday, but you read something earlier with the time difference. So the plane would have taken off at 12:08 and they got there like about 20 minutes after. And I know that they have a vessel in Bequia. And apart from that, they have other vessels that are that move really quickly on water, obviously because it's a vessel or water. Yeah. I don't know what to say because I don't think, for me being on this side of the fence, I don't work behind the scenes. I have to take their word for as gospel. They take a little bit of time to prepare themselves, and then they have to initiate certain things and then move over. What might be a bit troubling to me is the having to wait further for a diver. That will be a bit troubling to me. But luckily there were divers and like fishermen who were able to assist the Coast Guard. I am not too sure if I'm like 100% comfortable. While it is okay and it is good to have civilians assist authorities, I feel like it's not something that the authorities should fall back on in the interest of time. But they're the ones who would have to ascertain and figure out whether or not for future, or if this was a one-off situation where some protocol was not followed by somebody, or is this the norm that the vessel gets there first, they assess the scene, and then the diver comes after, because it's not a customary thing that you need a diver all the time. So maybe it's not like practical to have a diver on the vessel all the time. Hello, good morning. But then the nature of the event too. Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Christal, how you doing?
I'm all right, thanks. What's up?
Okay, the best person in St. Vincent writing anything on aviation matters is Mr. Cook. He is we're helping him do some very deep analytical research. Okay, procedure of what happened yesterday. I'm not an investigator. National Transportation Safety Board, they said ECA, the Americans still have to come in. It's a Belanca Viking single engine, I think 260 or 285 horsepower, somewhere about there. However, this is what the investigators are going to look at. They're going to trace the hotel that the person stayed at, and they're going to trace that journey to the airport. I am not an investigator, but this is what I believe happened yesterday. You took off from Bequia, and you had an engine failure. An engine failure, which you should have survived. You can survive. Single engine airplanes have some of the best survivability rates in the world. You simply land straight, but you'll go in the water. There's a procedure for that. However, Christal, if you are overloaded, you are dead. You hear me?
Other person said that as
If
well.
you are over, say again, please.
Go ahead.
Said other persons were saying that yesterday that the plane seemed to have been overloaded.
Yes, what happens is if it's overloaded and you take off and that button screams and you, the first thing that you're going to do is to try to push the nose down to regain speed. But it's going to drop like a rock. It happened with Alea. You remember the singer Alea a few years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, she forced the pilot. She threatened the pilot. If you don't carry these things, I'm going to have your job. And she had the power to do it. The poor guy never even reached 150 feet off the ground. He should have known better because I would have given her the key and I would have walked away from the airport and said, well, you go, you fly it. That is the attitude I would have done. But unfortunately, may the souls of the faithfully departed rest in peace. Through the mercy of our Lord. Amen. I have seen many accidents. I'm 56 years old today. I've been seeing accidents for God knows how long. I remember the last time I get out of an airplane in Africa and leave there, give another man the keys and went and sign out. Before I could leave the airport, I hit, badam! Overload again. So guys, that is what I think happened. Let the investigation flow and continue. You're doing a good job. Thanks a lot. Have a good weekend, guys.
Before you go, some people may not know you. Tell us who you are and your experience, please.
Okay. If you, all right. I went to Stony Ground School. I left here in 1980. I'm born here in Kingston in front of Russell Coca-Cola factory. I've written books. I'm the guy that found the rocket on the beach in Tobago Keys a few years ago, and I wrote a book, and it's still on Amazon Kindle and never brought any hard copies. I deal with the medical marijuana industry. We brought Big San Hotel to St. Vincent. We brought Digicel to St. Vincent, and we brought Cana SVG to St. Vincent. And as of last week, Friday, I brought 5 persons into St. Vincent last Friday, Germans, and I took them up to the Prime Minister's office and left a note up there and went to tourism. These people are coming to St. Vincent to do something called zip lining. So anybody hearing me talking about zip lining, you could run with the idea. It's not a problem because all over could do zip line. But I am bringing 5 persons from Germany to do zip lining in St. Vincent. And the thing of it is, I've already went to all the offices, but I am not happy with Invest SPG and Nadine Agard and them.
Another time for that.
Yeah. There's a conversation for another time.
Right. Okay, but here we're going on. Bringing the zip line into St. Vincent. I have tried to convince the Germans 4 times. This is their 4th visit to St. Vincent. I'm telling them we better than all the rest of them.
Okay. I thought you were gonna
give your expertise in aviation and your name.
That's what I was looking for.
All right. Well, here we're going on. I have a private license from Canada in Montreal in 1989. I never
So
did
you're a
commercial.
pilot.
I went to school with several other guys, including Mal and Lois from Bequia. All of us was in the same class, and Reggie, the one who was running this airline here the other day, One Caribbean.
Yeah.
Okay.
All of us was in the same class in 1989. But the only thing, I was a bad boy.
All right.
Okay, I was one of the guys that used to fly under the radar. I'm going to write a book about it. Don't worry.
Looking forward to it.
In the interest of time, we want to facilitate at least one more call before we end the segment. So thanks a lot for the information this morning.
Man, all right. Anytime you're ready for the procedure, let me call me and I can give you all.
All right. Thank you so much.
Take care. Have a nice weekend.
All right. Same to you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Yeah, I wanted to get out that he's a pilot.
But
knowledgeable. Do you want me to do this?
What's that?
You want me to do this?
Yes.
Somebody's calling at the same time. Let me take it
Okay.
quickly. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I am all right, thank you. Go ahead.
Good. I heard you all speaking about the aircraft,
Mm-hmm.
and I just saw the gentleman who just spoke there said he used to fly in Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
Likewise, myself. I flew in Montreal since 1973 with Palmer Flying Mountain, and Everett Best flew in Mountain also. And I know Reggie quite well. That small aircraft, I have a lot of hours logged on that aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
It's either a Piper or a Cherokee. 140 or maybe a 180. And there are a lot of things what can happen why the aircraft went down. Number one, the angle of an attack could cause the aircraft to stall. That means he's climbing too steep over the horizon, and he can drop like a stone at a low altitude. If he is at a high altitude, he might be able to glide a bit because we have been trained to get out of stall. And stalling an aircraft, your wings have to be leveled. Once your wings is leveled, you will not get into what you call an inciple. An inciple is called a spin. And if you can get out of that spin, that means if you're spinning right, you have to press the opposite roller, which is the left. And if you're spinning left, you got to press the opposite roller, which is the right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one scenario. The other scenario, you have to do weight and balance. That means you have to calculate the weight of all the passengers, calculate the weight of all the luggage, and also the weight of the aircraft. But when you take off at the airport at Bequia, your takeoff speed is about 60 to 65 miles an hour. And if you get a stall very early in your takeoff, it's very hard to recover because we used to stall them at about 5,000 feet. You can drop actually 500 feet. And when you're doing a stall, you have to make sure that nothing is in the back of your head, in the back of the aircraft, because it can fall on you and knock you out completely. So these are a part of the training. But here in St. Vincent, I don't know where the gentleman come from, if he's a Vincentian or who he is, but these are very easy aircraft to fly. The Cherokees, the Piper, the Cessnas, when you start flying, those are the aircraft you train on. For a single engine, you should have been able to get out of it. But something do happen. And again, if you stall, and I said, your takeoff speed is close to your stall speed. Your landing speed is close to your stall speed. And it's a lot of people going to speculate.
Mm-hmm.
But I have stalled them. I have done a lot of sparrow. I've done a lot of dive, a lot of spin, and those aircraft, and you have to get out of it. So when people are going to be speculating, they have to know what they're saying or what they're talking about before they start to do any speculation.
Mm-hmm.
So I am sorry that this happened. I have had friends who just got their license, the private license, no commercial, no IFR, and they got into bad weather, and they end up crash. So, such is life.
Mm.
So is there any question you want to ask me?
Yeah, I mean, you speculated one of two things: stalling and the weight balance. Um, the angle at which from the video the aircraft, the plane impacted the water, could that be an indication of both or either of the two?
It's called an angle of attack.
Mhm.
An angle of attack means the steepness of climbing. There are some aircrafts who have been built to climb steeply, and there are other aircraft like that one that he's flying. Your nose have to be at the horizon, so you will climb normally. So if you don't climb normally, if the aircraft is not trimmed properly, if you have the flaps on, full flaps, and you have to notch 5 degree by 5 degree and trim at the same time, something has to be gone wrong. Ask me more question. You can ask me.
One more, the sputtering. What is that
Go
an
ahead.
indication of, like engine failure?
What is the one?
During Kenton Chance's live on IWN, he said that persons heard a bit of sputtering from the aircraft.
He what? I didn't hear you quite
Sputtering.
well.
He heard sputtering. The people heard sputtering. I think that's the term he used.
Sputtering?
Yeah.
I don't understand, because normally when we are going to do a crash landing, all the doors, which is only one door you're going up from that aircraft.
No, I think it's just a sound, like when an engine is feeling or something like that.
Oh, when it's
Yes.
sputtering. Oh,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
I have similar problems like that. Actually, approaching to land, and your carburetor heat, we didn't pull the carburetor heat. This is what will happen. It start to spot on you.
Oh, okay.
And what you got to do, you pull the carburetor heat out and full power, and you climb again and do a 360 and come back.
Okay.
So something. Go ahead.
In your professional experience, do you believe that there's a reason why it dove instead of trying to glide across the water? Because from the video that we saw, it made a nosedive into the water.
You call it a
Well,
term,
that's
the
what I'm
angle
gonna
of
The angle of an attack is when you're climbing. That's what they call an angle of an attack. Okay. When he dived with the nose dive like that, or a spiral, we call it a spiral. You know, you dive straight down into the water. If you're going to glide, which you cannot glide, because you know the hot air is what keeps an aircraft up, and the cold air is what suppresses the aircraft downward. It all depends on the wind.
Oh. So you're saying that the wind probably wasn't in his favor to do that?
There could be a wind factor. Who knows?
Okay.
There could be a wind factor. You see, at E.T. Joshua Airport, when you're approaching at that airport, it used to have a wind that suppressed the aircraft downward, so you cannot glide in. You got to power in. You understand? Because with the air pushing you downward, if you're gliding, you goes down faster than the normal speed that you're supposed to be used to glide. You think you understand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a bit of education. This is a part of my training, you know. So I can tell you, I can tell you, you know, exactly, because before when you're flying, these are fundamental that you have to do with the instructor, and when you go solo, you have to do all that by yourself.
Okay.
My final question, sorry, before we wrap up with you here. How long does it take to acquire a license for private?
Depends on how much brain you have.
Oh, same.
You see, you can get a license in about 20 hours if it's possible. Sometimes maybe 24 hours to get a private license.
A day?
You can go solo. No, well, I mean flying time, you know. That's what I'm telling you. It's based on your education, and because flying is a lot of maths.
a lot of geography. And, you have to understand the instruments, how they work. You have to understand the engine. It's like a car engine. But you have more outtake and intake manifolds, so you have to know the whole fundamental of the aircraft. You have to know how the flaps works. You have to know how the rattler works, how the elevators work. You have to know a lot of things. You have to know when you put your master on. You have to know how the P2 work. You have to know your mixture, your fixture. It's a lot of things. But it's become normal when you do these things on a daily basis.
Right. I didn't get your name.
My name? It's Basil Weeks.
Sorry?
Basil Weeks.
Basil Weeks.
Thank you so much,
All
Mr.
right.
Weeks, for your contribution.
You're always welcome.
All right. You take care. Have a good day. Happy New Year as well.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, so the time is now 8:08 in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and your time check was brought to you by New Haven Funeral Home. But before we leave, we're going to have a brief conversation with Kenton Chance, who was alive yesterday in Bequia, so stay tuned for that.
Death is a fact of life. Even though death is a fact of life, that doesn't make it any easier. When dealing with the loss of a loved one, you may try to be strong, but it's really hard sometimes. But that's just when the experience of the staff at New Haven Funeral Home can demonstrate their compassion and help to guide your family through the difficult time. So in your time of loss, call the New Haven Funeral Home at 457-1830 or 458-1467 or email newhavenfuneralhome@gmail.com. New Haven Funeral Home, SVG's preferred funeral home.
That could have been you. An accident that could have been avoided because your tires had almost no grip on the road. Safety is a factor that should never be overlooked when it comes to your car or whatever you drive. SVG Tire Sales and Services in Falls Avenue and at Arnisvale carries a wide selection of quality new tires to fit any car, truck, minibus, or SUV, so you can experience a comfortable and safe commute every time. We are agents for the world's most reliable brands on and off the road, including Kenda Tires, the king of the mountain, Cooper Tires, king of the road and track, Osto, the king of the outback, and High Fly, the king of the Asian highway. We also carry new tires for light or heavy duty trucks from MRF, High Fly, and Linglong. A reliable set of new tires keep you, your passengers, and your payload always in the safe lane. So when you need quality tires with reliability at 100%, choose SVG Tire Sales and Services in Kingstown, 457-1467, or in Arnisvale, 456-6444. SVG Tire Sales and Services. Performance and reliability proven when the rubber meets the road. Out with the old, in with the new. In the past, you complained when we failed. We listened and went back to the drawing board. At last, a new, fresh beginning. A fresh face, a new product. International Standard Metals A792 presents Galvaloon, an aluminum roofing metal, branded best used for roofing material, tested and proven to be of superior quality. Get wider coverage for the best prices on the island. We offer a variety of colors, including zinc sheets. Also, take advantage of our unique roofing patterns, U-panel, industrial, and crimp Spanish style. Visit us at the Diamond Industrial Estate. Call us at 784-456-9900 or email bmlsvg@gmail.com. Galvaloon, a product of International Standard Metals.
Gospel Power of Praise Promotions and Fidel Taylor Ministries presents Awake SVG, an evening of anointed, explosive praise and worship featuring from St. Vincent, Pearl McMaster, Fenton Harry, Otoesian Evangelist Cheryl Brown, Nigel Joseph, Maxine Coombs, Alfonso Richards, and the KBC Worshippers, Ronnie Richardson, the band Blessed, and Reverend Fidel Taylor.
Praise on the mountain.
From the USA, Gus Lynch, Shamel Russell, and Gregory Olive. Get ready, St. Vincent, for Awake SVG. Experience it live at the Russell's Auditorium, Stony Grounds, Kingstown, on February the 4th, 2024. Get your limited early bird tickets for just $20. Regular price $25, and at the door you pay $30. Get your tickets at Century Insurance, Nightingale, Pulse, Phyllis at Singer, Be Connected Shop at Camden Park, and from churches throughout SVG. Proceeds in aid of the Rillen Hill Church of the Nazarene Restoration. There's also going to be lots of prizes and giveaways.
Praise the Lord.
Sponsored by Century Insurance, New Life Sound, and West Indian Development.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It's a whole new world out there. Reaching new customers and getting products faster. That's what it's all about. Ocean freight rates are skyrocketing, so don't pay more for slower service. It's time to switch to faster, more reliable air cargo service with SkyMax Cargo. Up to 3 flights weekly to and from the USA, Puerto Rico, and the Caribbean Islands. Providing excellent import, export, and e-commerce solutions to put you ahead of the competition. For special low rates on small packages and air cargo, contact SkyMax today. 784-456-5400. Local agents SwiftPack Interprime Cargo. Call 784-456-5400 to book your shipments today.
WEFM, the new fresh sound.
Rise and shine. Let's get ready to take on the day. Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
And welcome back to Activated Mornings. This morning you're listening to myself, Ari, and next to me in studio is Christal. So while we were off air a few minutes ago, I was having a conversation with a pilot who happened to be flying in at the same time that the accident, I would say, or the tragedy happened. So in his opinion, it was a control service issue that the plane was having. He said that over the airwaves, he heard the pilot say, "I have an emergent," and before he could say "see," there was nothing. He was no longer there. So it was so he had theorized that it's probably his horizontal stabilizer that broke off, the flap at the back is probably what broke off, or he had a high there was a high gust of wind. Remember, it's a tiny airplane.
So any other thing,
Yeah.
in terms of like impact on physics, all that's physics and geography.
But we,
oh Lord Jesus.
We're standing by to speak to Kenton Chance, who was live yesterday at the site. Maybe you could tell us more about the Coast Guard response. Maybe you could tell us more about what the scene was like there for persons. So we're right now going to get into contact with Mr. Chance. But until then, life is fickle. I was having a late lunch yesterday with a family that just came from Bequia, and they were saying we just saw this man yesterday, and we just had a conversation, and today he's gone.
Hello, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Kenton.
Hey, good morning, Harry. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. So I was hoping to get some insights, given that you were. I'm Christal.
Yeah,
sorry.
Also.
Oh yes.
Happy New Year, Kenton.
I saw
Happy New Year.
I know you only have him for a short period of time, so I was trying to get the information.
No, it's okay.
My
It's okay. Go
apologies.
ahead.
My apologies to the listeners. Kenton, I was hoping to hear from you. What was your experience covering the event, or the tragedy?
Well, essentially, when I got to Bequia shortly after 2 yesterday, the recovery of the bodies and all of that had taken place. In fact, when the ferry was pulling into dock in Port Elizabeth, there were 2 Coast Guard interceptors there with some blue bags that I presumed were body bags, and the manner in which they were handling them suggested that there were bodies inside in the bag. I later confirmed that, and then I traveled down to Paget Farm to get a sense of, what things were like. I was really surprised at how quiet it was. It seemed as if everybody had just gone back to whatever they had been doing. Well, maybe that is not an accurate description because some of the people were so affected by what had happened that they were unable to do what they were doing before. But the place was just quiet. People were sitting around at the fisheries. We spoke to some of the people who had assisted in the recovery. Sorry, let me just turn this off. Yeah, so the recovery of the bodies. It was a traumatic event for the people who witnessed it. The actual crash, and it seems as if quite a few people saw it because apparently whatever noise the aircraft was making, it called attention to itself, and people really paid attention and then saw it dive into the sea. Yeah.
Now, Kendon, you have a story about the fisherman who criticized the Coast Guard response. When I was looking at the time difference in when the plane went down and videos that I saw, fishermen were on the scene, and then the time that is stated that the Coast Guard arrived, it was actually quite interesting to me. And Christal was saying that maybe that there was a protocol that they had to follow first, and what concerned her was.
I'd be interested in knowing what protocol the Coast Guard has to follow in responding to an emergency situation, especially if that protocol is in some way going to negatively affect the response. I'd be very curious to know what that is.
No, that is where it got interesting for me.
In all fairness to the Coast Guard, though, the event happened, unfortunately, pretty close to a fisheries complex where a lot of fisher folks are based. And from my information, a lot of them were just returning or had just returned from the day's activities at sea. And like I said, apparently because of the noise that the aircraft was making, it called attention to itself. And people saw when it crashed and they immediately responded, which invariably, I think in any part of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, probably in the world, that is what is going to happen. But the interesting part of that story is that after the local fishermen, they located the wreckage in the water. They said that by that time the Coast Guard had arrived, and they told the officers, well, we found the wreckage and indicated where it is. And the Coast Guard officer said that there were no divers on board, which I find to be, a curious situation. I don't know how the Coast Guard operates, and maybe they have specialized divers and what have you, but the mantra of our Coast Guard is dedicated to preserving lives at sea. If I don't have the formulation exact, that is the general thrust of it. So if saving this life involves diving, I don't understand how it works. Human beings and underwater, the breathing apparatus, we know how that is likely to end after maybe 2 or 3 minutes. So I don't know, but it's a very interesting situation. And
I think it is.
The suggestion that there's certain protocols is even more curious.
Now, what
I'd be very interested in knowing what those protocols might be.
Same here, because what immediately crossed my mind was, well, in this situation, it appears that everyone on board seemed to have died on impact. But if it was a case where the pilot had more control over the plane and persons were just waiting to be rescued.
Fishermen would have
Even
done the
if it
job.
was a situation there was that for some the people had survived the crash and there was, I don't know, I'm just speculating, somehow there was some kind of air bubble in the aircraft and they had a few minutes, what would have happened there? What would have been the protocol?
Exactly.
And then the thing is, and I know the Coast Guard from my interaction with them before, they don't discredit local knowledge because the fishermen, they are in the area all the time. They know very well how the tides are moving and what have you. And one of the fishermen said that they said, look, the tide is beginning to go in such and such a direction. And if this doesn't happen soon, it's a strong possibility that this wreckage is going to be
lost,
dragged out to sea and we never find it again.
I mean, it's regrettable that the crash happened. Well, more than regrettable. It's sad that the crash happened. I don't have to sound like a diplomat here. It's sad that the crash happened, but notwithstanding the sadness of it, the fact that all of the bodies were recovered is a very good thing, because at least the families can have some closure and pay
Some
their
sort
final
of closure,
respect,
yes.
to their loved ones.
So I'm advised that the wife of the family was on the scene. You know anything about that?
On the plane?
No, the scene where
She was
they
in
were
the water.
recovering the, yeah.
I am not sure. I'm really not sure. From the people who I recognize, I think the prominent people, I think I saw, well, when I say saw, I mean from photographs and videos, I think I saw Louise Mitchell among the people who were in the water recovering the bodies. I think she was actually in a photograph kind of video holding up a body. Well, somebody who I think is Miss Mitchell. If it's not, I apologize to her.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
so
know.
you're not sure at the moment.
Yeah, at the moment. I'm pretty confident it's her, but because I wasn't there in person, I don't want to say
Yeah.
definitely that it was her.
Yeah, I understand. So what was the general feeling? What did you go out to sea or were you on shore?
No, I didn't go out to see, because, like I said, by that time, the recovery of the body had taken place, and I mean, to my mind, that is it's not a crime scene, because it's an investigation scene. So, I mean, as a professional, you have to know your boundaries. There was no need for me to go there when there's no, there's really no, in essence, no news value
Yeah, yes.
in going there. And the area, I think, I would presume that it's a secure area.
Yeah.
But, yeah, this whole entire thing is very, very, very unfortunate.
But if you don't mind, maybe I could ask Christal to give some insights on what, this thing about protocols that the Coast Guard might have to follow in such a situation.
I have to double check. I'm trying to get the information as we speak. But I'm pretty sure when they were in here on Cop Chat, there was mention of protocols for the vessels.
Well, the police, well, any organization generally would have protocols, but I mean, if you're responding to a report of a vessel that responds doesn't have a diver on board, I would presume that the protocol would involve dispatching in short order a certified or professional diver to go to the scene, just in case their services are needed. Because, I mean, in Rock Gutter, we had a similar situation where civilians recovered most, if not all of the bodies. In fact, somebody made the observation yesterday that it appeared that none of the Coast Guard officers who responded to that scene in Bequia got wet. Well, I don't think that is a totally accurate conclusion. I think their hands at least got wet, because when the bodies were passed up to them, they pulled them onto the interceptor.
Yeah, I think I understand what the person is trying to say. It seemed like they were on board throughout the entire interaction.
They didn't dive.
Yeah.
They didn't dive to retrieve any bodies. There was a similar rescue. I think on the leeward side, somebody had identified that there was a body on the water, and it was a civilian recovery. So yes, sorry. And it was a civilian who had to. Well, not. I don't know if it's had to, but it was a civilian who recovered the body. And not the Coast Guard. And that was a similar argument too.
I think generally, right, when these things happen, I mean, St. Vincent is an island, and most villages, all villages on the coast or towns, have a lot of competent divers there. And sometimes people would take it upon themselves and go and recover a body, sometimes even before the Coast Guard arrives, or recover somebody who's presumed to be dead. But that is one thing. But when you have the Coast Guard has already arrived. It has already arrived. And then you say, well, look, we found the wreckage. It is located at such and such a place. And then the Coast Guard responds by saying, well, we have to wait for our divers to arrive. That just really strikes me as odd.
Yeah.
This is not knocking the Coast Guard. I think they do a pretty good job of, preserving our borders and all of that. But when something like that happens, I mean, you can't help but wonder, well, what's really going on? Does the Coast Guard need to? Okay, let's put it this way. It's like the RRU. There's a report of a shooting or gunfire, gun battle in our part of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and then the police in blues and grays respond, and they say, "Oh, we have to wait until the RRU comes because we don't have any guns." No, I hope it's not too ridiculous.
No, I understand what you're saying.
For comparison.
Oh, no, but what was alarming to me was the response time. It seemed like it took roughly 20 minutes for them to arrive to the scene from Bequia Harbor. But when I read the report here, the news release from the police force, it said that the Coast Guard was informed and quickly traveled to Paget Farm Bequia to lead
Harry,
in rescue efforts.
You've covered the court a lot. Police speak. Everything in police testimony is immediately. The police responded immediately. And I mean, that is public relations.
20 minutes is relatively quick. Maybe that's
relatively
it.
Quick from
Maybe
but
20 minutes is relatively quick.
I don't think so.
Look, you have any idea how fast those are interceptor boats,
Yes, because somebody said, and I know.
300 engines on them.
Yes, I know Vincent Chans always say things like this, but one of the captions I saw in the video was, look at this, the speed in which they're moving. If it was coke, they're already there.
Well, I didn't include it in my story, but one of the fishermen made a similar a comment yesterday that, sometimes the attitude when there's illicit substance, and this is not to excuse illicit substance because that is part of the job of the Coast Guard.
Yes, it is.
But I think there's something to be said, or at least the perception, if not the reality, is that when it's certain circumstance, you respond accordingly. Because the truth is, ordinary civilians untrained can presume that somebody is dead. But how quickly should the Coast Guard make a determination that this is not a rescue, this is a recovery? And like I said, if the initial, because I would guess that the Coast Guard, when they get a report, they would dispatch the vessel that is closest to the scene. It makes practical sense.
Yes.
But then if you get a report, an aircraft has crashed off Bequia, and you dispatch an interceptor that doesn't have any divers on board, there is a cost of this. I would presume that they would quickly get some divers to go there or what have you. I mean, there's and the thing is that these conversations, they're very important because that's how we improve the service that we provide. Some people might say, oh, it's too quick to move from this to that, but if it needs to be had, if the conversation needs to be had, it needs to be had. And maybe if there is a protocol, as Christal says, then maybe the protocol needs some revision because we only strengthen things after we put them into motion. And then we say, well, we have this, but it didn't work this time. How do we...
Exactly. How do we improve?
How do we get it to work another time? It's the same, like as in a media room, in a newsroom, at least those who are serious about what they do. I'm sure that editors would be thinking, say, look, this thing happened in Bequia yesterday, and all we were able to do was to get, second-hand stuff from citizens. How might we be better able to get to a scene like that if something like that were to happen in the future? How do we get to Bequia or to Massey Cannon very quickly if we need to? So it's not just a review for the Coast Guard, but all of the people who might have interest in things like these. It's important that these types of reviews take place.
Yeah, you have to. You really have to.
I also want to commend, because I'm not writing a new story, I could say it. I want to commend the people of Bequia for the response yesterday because of their actions.
That's exactly what I was just about to say.
Families, though they're mourning, they can look forward to some sort of closure and pay their final respect to their loved ones. And I spoke to some of the fishermen. One of them asked him if he had thought about speaking to a professional about dealing with what he saw, and he said, no, he's fine. But sometimes people witness very traumatic things and think that they're fine. And after a while it begins affecting them. So, all of the people who might have seen that yesterday, seen the recovery of the bodies and what have you, and you're feeling a little uncomfortable today, or if you begin to feel uncomfortable, I would really strongly suggest that you go and speak to a professional to help you to cope with it. It's not as easy as it seems. There was a guy who said he was walking, and after he saw the crash, he said he saw everything, and then after he said he just couldn't walk anymore. So he told his workman, let's pack it up for today. So, and I would like to, if you guys would permit me, to say something about the video that was posted. But the thing is, I did post the video. I mean, generally, I don't like to post stuff with swear words in there. It's not part of my policy to use it, but in the circumstances and given the time constraints, I made a decision to use it and to put the warning there that there was offensive language in there. I heard a lot of people, I saw some comments where some people were commenting on the reaction of the people in the video. And the question I would like to ask, who decides how somebody responds on the spur of the moment when witness a very traumatic incident? Whose decision? Who says, these are the words I should use, or these are the words I should not use, and this is how I should respond, or this is how I should not respond? I mean, since when are we so sanctimonious?
Yeah.
I mean, people can criticize me as a journalist for saying, well, you should not have used the video because they had swear words in there. And I said, well, yeah, you have a valid point, but this is the reason why I did it. Ordinarily, I would not have. But to criticize the people who are looking at it and, who recorded it and then, their reaction, come on, man. I think that's a little too far. I think we're going...
I mean, in all honesty, I think one of the things that I think the laughing was a little inappropriate, not a little inappropriate. It was a bit insensitive because to us, laughing means that you're mocking. However,
yeah, but was the person really laughing?
However, not all laugh is a mocking laugh. There's some people whose initial response to shock is a laughter, but they don't think it's funny.
And that's the point. But I'm asking that's why I'm asking the person somewhat rhetorically. Was the person really laughing?
And then the expletives that she used to. Another thing you have to question, what's her level of maturity? Was she intoxicated? But then another thing I realized that people are looking at it through their lenses and how they will or they think they will respond in that moment. And I feel like that argument yesterday was compared to the passing away of 4 individuals in a plane crash was a non-issue.
Look, people are just doing armchair or Monday morning quarterbacking and armchair analysis post facto. Look, I don't swear. It's not something that I do. But I'm sure if I had witnessed something like that, I probably would have said, OSH ... At least I would have said that. Because that's just, or some people say, oh God. People express themselves differently. I mean, So when I saw that, I'm like, oh, come on. You're a little bit too sanctimonious and, sitting there. I don't think the person was laughing at all. I don't think they were laughing at all. They,
All right.
I really am.
But, we all see what we see and we focus on what we want to focus on.
True that. Just to confirm, it was Louise Mitchell yesterday.
Yeah, well, I was pretty confident, but because I didn't see her with my own eyes, I didn't want to the eyes can fool you.
That is a fact. All right, I don't have any further questions. Any further comments?
Amen.
No, I don't have any further comments. Well, there's a story that I'm working on. I'm not going to scoop myself on another media outlet, of course. That I think should raise some very important questions for us about civil aviation in our airspace. And when I'm done doing all the requisite research and whatever, I would put it out into the public.
All right, Kenton, thanks for joining us this morning. Much appreciated.
All the best. Take care.
All right, thank you so much.
We have a comment here before we break. Someone said they had the opportunity to travel on the Coast Guard boat and it took them 20 minutes from St. Vincent to Bequia. And that is why, to me, the 20 minutes is alarming because you're already in Bequia and we know how fast these boats go. But it's not purely negative here. We want to congratulate, and we have to big up the fishermen and the people of Bequia with their response because it was really timely and it really gave me personally a feeling of togetherness and community, and I never felt, well, let me not say never, but I've really felt part of a society yesterday. Now we have some calls coming in. We're going to break here, and when we come back, we can take those calls.
Before we go, the Coast Guard, they do have response recovery protocols that they have to follow.
You know what they are as yet?
I don't know what they are. I can't tell you exactly what will make up the protocol, but they do exist.
I am interested. Well, naturally, but I'm very interested in hearing what they are. Why?
First cop chat for the year. Coast Guard protocols again.
Yeah, because I want to understand why it took 20 minutes. But we'll be right back.
Thinking of winning the lotto jackpot? Well, there is an easy way. Combo Play. Choose 4 numbers from 1 to 36. That's a combo 4 at a cost of $64. Match any 4 of the 5 numbers and win the lotto jackpot. There's Combo 6, where you purchase 6 numbers for only $12. Match any 5 of the 6 lotto numbers and hit the jackpot. How about Combo 7? That's a purchase of 7 lotto numbers for $42. Match any 5 of the 7 numbers and you will win the jackpot. There are also Combo 3, Combo 8, and Combo 9 lotto plays. Visit the NLA headquarters in Pauls Avenue or WhatsApp 495-6886 for more details. Lotto, you have to be in it to win it.
Do you spin a dial to make a call on your rotary phone from the 60s?
No.
Are you driving an unreliable and risky automobile made in the 1900s?
Of course not.
Are you still fiddling with an antenna to get good signal on your black and white television from the 20s?
Really?
Then why are you still stuck in the past, sitting on an unintelligent 1930s design toilet? That's right, 1930s design. What does your bathroom say about you? Don't get left behind. The future is now. Be smart. Be progressive. Get yourself a smart toilet seat or a complete toilet today. You can visit the My Smart Toilet Seat office on the 3rd floor of the Blue Corner building opposite the old Anglican School on Bay Street. Our smart toilets are also available from St. Vincent at retail outlets with the orange flags. For more information, you can call us at 457-1703 or visit our website, justwashit.vc.
Whether you're ripping it up on the highway or taking a casual Sunday drive, OT Tire Limited is second to none when delivering excellence at reasonable prices. We offer new and used tires, tire repair and installation. We are the only place that offers nitrogen, which helps with gas consumption and ride comfort. Supplying you with brand name tires like Maxxis, Kumo, Good Ride, Westlake, and Triangle.
Boom! Enjoy the VIP style customer waiting lounge with refreshments and free Wi-Fi. You know what I'm saying, yo? This is Skinny Fabulous, and when it comes to tires, nobody makes it easier than OT. Boom! Got me on the road. When the OT car tire.
Follow OT Tire on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter today.
Hey, boom! Run the road with OT tires.
WEFM, the new fresh sound.
Rise and shine. Let's get ready to take on the day. Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
And we're back, St. Vincent and Grenadines. The time is now 8:40. And those of you who are trying to call into, okay.
When we finish with the calls, we'll take some responses from the live and WhatsApp. Hello, good morning.
Hi, morning, Christal. How are you?
I am good, thanks. Happy New Year.
Yeah, that's good. Sometimes we have not spoken. And the co-host in studio.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm well, given the circumstances.
Yeah, well, we have to be well because when you
wake up one morning early and you're able to give the Almighty praises and thanks for giving you that privilege of seeing another day. Afford to be like the birds and just fly off from the tree branches like we have no care in the world.
Yep.
It is sad that we have so many armchair quarterbacks in this land and also in other Caribbean countries. When an incident like what took place yesterday, that people begin to rip and tear and cut up and think that they know best as to what should be done in a particular situation. Kenton is correct when he raised the issue about protocols, and Christal also raised another interesting point. Because when you have an incident like this and it involves law enforcement of one branch or the other, there has to be an investigation. And one of the important things in yesterday's scenario is during the investigation, the initial questions by the pathologist will be, what condition were the bodies in when taken out of the water? Identifying marks, possibility of a broken neck, a broken spine, damage to the brain, what impact caused on the body. Those questions have to be asked. 2, while there would be some of the fishermen who would have their own training or probably professional training in recovering of bodies, people need to understand, are the Coast Guard units in the Caribbean trained to deal with plane crashes? And I said the Caribbean, because if you read through what is happening in the Caribbean where law enforcement is concerned, it is to reduce the trafficking of illicit substances, guns, and humans. If you look at it carefully, stop the flow of illegal goods from one country to the other. Are they trained in dealing with a plane crash? Yes, a call would go in. But do they have that training to deal with a plane crash? What to do, how to do it? If you read up on the Coast Guards of the US, Canada, England, are trained to deal with that because they are involved in a lot of rescue missions. So yes, the Coast Guard have interceptors that can move so quickly. But when they get to the scene, what do they do? How do they do it? So while people want to bash the Coast Guard, there are questions to be asked. Do we now, in conjunction with the other OECS countries to begin with, have protocols in place to deal with plane crashes? How do we do that? There are many questions to be asked. And again, I extend praises to the response by the fishermen and anyone in civilian society. There are many people who are trained in disaster response. What to do, how to do it. They respond. But at the end of the day, it is the law enforcement personnel who then have to step in. Yes, you would have some law enforcement personnel who would have their own mind about doing things and not having the ability to think on the go. That happens because of training, because of personality issues. But at the end of the day, right now, there is an investigation that have started by the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force. There are members from Serious Crimes Unit in Bequia
starting the investigation. Then you have the Eastern Caribbean Civil Aviation Authority involved. And I'm sure the Americans will send investigators in for a couple of reasons. One, the deceased are American citizens. Two, you have to look at the whole issue of insurance. And American law is different to British Commonwealth law. But at the end of the day, there has to be closure to the families. There are many interesting questions that have to be asked and answered. When you look at the certification of the plane in particular by the FAA, and that certification was expiring in 2025, the Americans would have done their due diligence on the plane. The pilot himself would have to file reports and everything. And I'm sure they're going to investigate as to where was the plane stored at night, in schedule, were there any problems with it? There are just so many questions that have to be asked that I think we ought now not to plain Monday morning quarterback on that issue. I think the people in Bequia did a very good job in helping to recover the bodies. I'm concerned like a fisherman that the tide may move the aircraft into deeper water, making recovery even harder. And I hope in the next few days that knowledgeable personnel work with the authorities in recovering the plane. And even recovering the plane has to be done in a way so as to, quote unquote, not to contaminate any evidence. I think we should stop quarterbacking because quarterbacking, it brings pain to a lot of people. Those in Bequia who worked with the family, we do not know the family, the father and his two daughters, what they were returning to St. Lucia for. I am getting calls asking me, Robertson, what were they coming back to St. Lucia for? Was it to catch a flight? Was it to continue their vacation? Two countries trying to get answers. And all that noise has to be in a manner that would aid the authorities in getting the necessary answers to us. Because we all want answers. There have been planes that have gone down, not just here, but in other countries, never found it. Nobody knows what's happening. It is just sad, and I just hope people will stop questioning. So, like you asked Christal earlier, what are the protocols for the Coast Guard? I hope somebody from the Coast Guard come and educate the public.
If they are able to.
Protocols are.
If they're able to share that information. Not all, sometimes it's confidential.
But I think there is some information that should and can be given out.
Okay.
It's just like you're having a fire. Certain little issues that can be done. You may not give everything, but I think in recovery, you would always get people to come on board.
Okay.
As to people laughing, seeing what's happening with the plane, and the use of swear words, that is a natural reaction. We cannot play priest and nun and say, oh, this should be done, this should be done. I think we're becoming a little too sanctimonious at times for our own good. Let us allow the authorities to carry out the investigation, and based on the information they then put out, then I think we can raise the question. And yet still, the information that will be put out after the end of the investigation
All right.
may not be what we want to hear.
Okay.
Thanks. Have a blessed day.
Same to you. Thanks. Somebody else was trying to get in call. Let's read out some comments.
Before we read out the comments,
go ahead.
I want to respond to some of the things that was said.
again.
What's your definition of? Oh, okay, go ahead.
When they come, they take them. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Christal.
Morning.
And good morning, Ari.
Good morning.
Now, I listened to your program, and I listened to Kent and Chance and a couple of the people who call on your last caller. Now,
Sounds like dog.
A lot of people talking about the Coast Guard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, according to the information from yesterday, the Coast Guard got there within 20 minutes or so of the crash, right?
Yes.
And the Coast Guard said they're waiting for a diver, right? From another Coast Guard to come with the divers. Now, my opinion is this, right? If you are a member of the Coast Guard, you should be a professional diver. Every member of the Coast Guard, that should be one of the fundamental parts of the Coast Guard. Every member of the Coast Guard is supposed to be a diver. Because if you knowing our terrain, we have more ferries. We have at least close to 10 ferries going to Bequia alone back and forth. Well, not going to Bequia and forth, back and forth. We have more than 10 trips going back and forth to Bequia every single day. You have the fast ferry traveling to the Southern Grenadines. You have other ferries. You have other yachts. We are a yachting community in the Grenadines because I was in Bequia the day after Christmas, and I never seen so much yachts in my life in Bequia. And we're dealing with a lot of water, and this tragedy could happen at any time. It could be from a plane, as we saw yesterday. But most of all, it could be from boat crashing, boat sinking for whatever reason. And the Coast Guard show up, and they're telling you they don't have no diver. This is the identical same thing that happened in Rockwater, where the people of Owea and those areas have to go into the water while the people on the Coast Guard sit
I remember that.
on the boat and watch young students die, and they couldn't go in the water. Other members of the community jump into the water and save some of those children in gutter. All they couldn't save. And you look at a young child going down, dying, and the people on the Coast Guard just sit down there and they didn't go in the water. And this, look how many years apart is this? And the same thing happening again? How you know that those people in the water didn't have like an air bubble or something for a couple of minutes that they could survive a little longer? Maybe they was unconscious when they knock out, but they was alive. Nobody knows those things. Those are the things that you have to take into consideration. So if they don't change the so-called protocol and all this kind of foolishness that they have, you got to go through this and go through that. It's a wonder they didn't have to call the Prime Minister to ask if to go in the water first. I mean, this is the kind of ignorance that you have going on in our country. And I listened to somebody talk about the lady who put up the video, and they don't like the tone of the video. Tell me, what you expect? What you expect in a tragedy? What you should do? Just take the video, keep it on your phone, and don't say nothing. Don't put it out so people could come and help. I mean, for the people who didn't see and other things, what's wrong with that? I don't know. People got some problem with some simple language that we all understand, and they're talking about bad language and them kind of thing. Let me tell you, which part of that what she said they didn't understand? Can't you see the person was going through a phase where they're seeing some tragedy right before their eyes? I mean, something is wrong with our people when we start to look at these things in a simple light. In a simple light, and it's not a simple situation. So my take for this, and I'll get off the air, is that if every member of the Coast Guard should be a certified diver, a certified scuba diver, and they should be certified in diving. And this in 60 feet of water. I could go up and down in 60 feet of water without taking a breath. I sure of it at my age. I can show you I could do it. What's wrong with them who is being paid? They got all kind of certification going on in this country. All kind of people giving certification, teaching you how to scuba dive and how to snorkel and them kind of things. It is no sense that you're a member of the Coast Guard and you're not a certified diver. If you not get to hell out the Coast Guard, go do something else. Have a good day.
All right, same to you. Thanks.
So that caller took my words right out of my mouth. I had jotted down response to the previous caller, and he had said that instead of us bashing the Coast Guard, and I just wanted to say I don't want that to be what people take away from what we're saying, because we started this morning offering condolences. We started giving information as we received it, and then we spoke about the response time. It is not to attack the Coast Guard or to just bash the Coast Guard and there's nothing that comes of it. What we want is more preventative methods. How do we avoid cases where the Coast Guard arrives to the scene approximately 20 minutes after without divers? And from the photos I saw, there were at least 2 Coast Guards on this vessel. None of you could swim. Why are locals? Because if Louise Michel was retrieving people, why are locals the ones that are in the water recovering people? But yet the police report says that the Coast Guard led the recovery.
Led the recovery, probably to say that they were there and they're the superior authority. But that doesn't mean that they're the ones who physically recovered the bodies. I think there was one story on one of these sites that said that they retrieved the bodies and people were in the comment sections correcting them. I mean, I think I said earlier, it's a good thing when civilians assist, but I don't think that they should be the go-to or turn to. Unless something fails, like there's a mechanical problem, something goes wrong, and things will go wrong, then a civilian can come in and assist in a situation, but that should be a one-off and not customary. No, Coast Guard naturally, police naturally, hospitals naturally, they would have protocols in place and how to respond to certain things. Whether or not that is confidential and if they are able to share certain things with the rest of the country, we'll have to wait and find out from them. But internally, they would have to assess whether or not the time they took to get to the scene, and there's a reason they have a vessel on Bequia. There's a reason that we got Hugh Malzac the other day as well. Hugh Malzac is a pretty fast vessel. There's a reason we invested in all these things to assist with search and rescue. If you look on the government websites, the objective of the SVG Coast Guard service is right there. Now, if it is a case where they have to assess whether or not what happened yesterday, the response time is within their protocol, then that's for them to figure out. Do they have to come back to the general public? Are we going to ask them for information? Are we going to ask them for some sort of accountability with the situation in their response time? Who knows? But
what I think, and that's what I was getting to, you had said it might be an issue of confidentiality. I do believe that the everyday person should know the protocols of the Coast Guard for search and rescue or recovery operations. The reason why I believe that way is if it is that I am on an aircraft or I'm on a vessel and something goes wrong and I'm stuck out at sea, I should know, okay, at least this is what the Coast Guard are trained to do. This is the procedure. So just in case, this is how I can prepare for it. Or even persons on the vessels or on the aircraft could update you at the beginning of the voyage to let you know, okay, if this happens, this is what the Coast Guard is supposed to do. So you can look out for XYZ.
Right. Okay.
And that's how I feel about it.
Maybe parts of the protocol, at least for somebody in distress.
Yes.
I can be rest assured and feel confident in knowing in 7 minutes, 10 minutes, 3 minutes, the Coast Guard will show up. If they don't show up within that time, then something is seriously wrong.
Yeah.
You understand? Maybe pieces of it can be shared with us. But there was something else I wanted to share from a resident of Bequia. The comments, but we have to end this live because it's been going on a while. And we'll come back at 9:20 and wrap things up.
Before we do that, just want to remind everyone that the Searchlight Midweek is out. The headlines are Four Die as plane plunges into Sea off Bequia. Pierre Gonzalez not aware of design showing Guyana's Essequibo region on Venezuela's map. 17-year-old student drowns at Cedar Beach. Montrose man shot minutes before start of New Year. Police seize 37 illegal firearms and ammunition in 2023. Murder accused received encouragement before he is remanded. CARICOM pays tribute to late Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister. New headmistress has been appointed at the St. Vincent Girls High School. House of Assembly appointments being challenged in court by Public Service Union member. Local facility assessed ahead of 2024 ICCC T20 Cricket World Cup. Sports opinions by Renwick, Dr. Fraser, Bassi, and so much more. Remember to check out our video stories on YouTube and download the free Searchlight app to access our e-paper and get breaking news and updates. Searchlight journalism you can trust online and at newsstands everywhere. Also, flow into the new year with high-tech home surround sound system when you sign up for the new Hub TV and broadband package from Flow. Elevate your home entertainment with new features like pause, rewind, fast forward, record, voice command, and more. Enjoy the theater at home with this package for only $199 per month. Happy New Year from Flow. Keep playing Catch the Santa on your mobile to win daily. Keep paying your postpaid internet, TV, or fixed line bill on time to win big every week. Not a Flow customer feeling left out? Switch to Flow to enjoy beatable savings, great products and services, and rewards all year long. The time is now 9:03 in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and it's time for your ECCB currency exchange rates brought to you by Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.